No, that is not a clickbait title. I'm very open about losing my mum, and today I'm going to tell you why I think it's probably the best thing that has ever happened to me. For anyone new around here, hi, I'm Joe. I'm a Team GB gymnast and coach, and I help people get into shape as well. Now, I don't have life figured out. I don't know everything. I think life is this constant journey of improving and bettering yourself through reflection and other means necessary. But this is a topic where I think my positive reframing could maybe provide some value for somebody in a similar situation. Maybe you could apply it to something else. If you've lost a loved one or a close friend or anything, I think over time, being able to reframe something like this positively is a benefit. And I'm not a self-help guru. I'm not a philosopher. I don't have everything figured out, but maybe you'll take something from this, or maybe you just get to know me a little bit better, because who wouldn't want to learn about childhood trauma? I mean, if you've had a great day and you're on top of the world, maybe just skip this one. Just go and watch Me and the Boys or something, or one of the other videos from my channel, obviously. But if you're up for an emotional ride, keep watching. Firstly, a bit of context. I lost my mum when I was about 2, not having a father figure in my life. My amazing grandma, legend, the one and only Christine, brought me up, took me on, took responsibility for me, and helped me, guided me through my childhood with support from my family and friends. Now, without Christine, who knows where I would have been? Who knows what I would have done? Who knows, I might have been in care, I might have had to live with another family, I don't know. So I feel incredibly lucky to have been able to be kept in the family around my relatives and loved ones. Here's my positive reframe on the situation and experiences of it, and how I take it along day-to-day life and carry it with me for everything I do. But first, let's get a coffee. I think we're going to need it. Flat white secured. We're maturing every single day, aren't we, with the flat whites? The first point is the ability to face adversity. Now, because I was so young when I lost my mum, and my family took responsibility, my mum, grandma, mum, Christine, started taking care of me from a young age, I consider myself really lucky. There's a lot of people who I know, or gymnasts, or people I speak to who lose their parents, important family members as well, at such more awkward times in their lives. And I feel like when you're young, obviously, if you're taken straight into like a loving home, or you've got family who can look after you, it's very, very, even hard you could go through that situation and not even know it's happened. So I was obviously aware, and something I didn't really think it had much effect on me, to be honest, until much later down the line. And now that I understand that lots of traits about me, the way I am, emotionally, mentally, lots of it actually boils down to some of those events and in my childhood. And that's a really weird thing sometimes to understand. But I do feel like the ability to face challenge, problem, struggle in life has definitely been increased by going through hardships. And I think this is something that I've taken along into my training, maybe personal, business life as well. So the ability to face challenge and doing it with a smile on your face. If you have to endure something hard or you're going through, you can always think back to the times and problems that you faced and see how you battled them. And I think that's the best kind of living proof for going forwards, moving on, making progress, putting one foot in front of another when it comes to these sort of things. Now, for me, and maybe people who have lost loved ones similar, you'll think the same thing. But I consider myself so lucky that it was at a time where maybe it was easy for me to understand, get into a different routine. But I see people lose their parents in teenage years, like early 20s. It's never, ever easy, is it? But there's times in your life where maybe you're not as emotionally intelligent or mature, and it's so hard. But I do think the hardships we face in life set us up for battling further struggles. Okay, Point 2. Now, if I hadn't have lost my mum, I probably wouldn't be where I was today, thanks to gymnastics. Christine, the legend, got me started in gymnastics. I was just a young kid, too much energy. I remember a story once, my mum telling me about me. I jumped off the cooker. My mum was on the phone to Christine, my other mum. And I had too much energy, and my mum thought, right, what can we do? We'll send him to an after-school club for gymnastics, and you can just start climbing the ropes, flipping around, making friends. Gymnastics has provided me with so many amazing experiences, life skills, people that have come into my life, and I am so, so grateful to the sport, those important people that have been in the journey and along the journey on the way, and I am so grateful to be involved in gymnastics. And it's quite hard to perceive that I actually might not have started gymnastics if I hadn't have lost my mum and gone to live with Christine, which is weird. And then it's like the butterfly effect, how one change can have such a big impact on kind of someone's life, which I just find crazy. Like gymnastics, from competing nationally, meeting amazing people, going to the Europeans, winning medals at the Europeans, getting involved in other endeavours in the sport, displays, other competitions, and then coaching, which is what I do now and what I enjoy doing, which is crazy to think that if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't be doing this. And there's a quote that I think summarises this and I've always liked. It's by Nicole Reed, an author, and it goes like this. Sometimes the bad things that happen to us in our lives put us directly on the path to the best things that ever will happen to us. That is a perfect testament to kind of my story. Next point, I think it's given me a perspective shift. Now, obviously going through any problem, struggle, or challenging time in life can give you that experience, knowledge, and capability or feeling to feel like you can face the next one. Now, when a problem or challenge arises, I feel like I've gone through enough pain in the past, in my childhood, to be able to endure that challenge most of the time. Now, I am not saying I am the toughest man. I am not saying there is no problem I cannot face. I'm not saying any of these things. I am a very emotional person. Sometimes I take things incredibly personally. Sometimes I get upset. It's okay to get upset. And I think it's important to say that. But I do try, as always, to get back on the bike, get back on the horse. I feel like there's a saying there. Get back on, give it another go. And I think that just honestly comes down to those past experiences. Once you feel like you've gone through something like that, I mean, it's probably really not the best way to think, and someone who's probably a specialist in child therapy is going to come and tell me that this is really negative and I shouldn't be thinking like this. But it's almost like once you've gone through that, you kind of feel like there's nothing you can't do. And I don't mean that in a cocky way. I'm not trying to be anything like that. I just think people might be able to relate to that if you've gone through those problems. And I want to see it on the positive side. So I want to see it as if I face a struggle, personally, business-wise, or training, injury, whatever it could be, you can always put this in any context. I think the challenges you face set you up to face them, and maybe face them with a smile. And there's another quote that I quite like. I think I heard Rowan Atkinson say this, and he was talking about it originating from Charlie Chaplin, and it goes like this. Life, when seen close up, is a tragedy, but in long shot, it's a comedy. And I think that's great. And I think sometimes when I have a challenging time, I try to kind of have that perspective. And I think in the moment when you're involved and you're engaged in it, it's obviously a tragedy and you can think this is the worst thing in the world. But if you imagine there's another set of people, or maybe a friend or someone else, and you're zoomed out and you're looking over the top of this problem or struggle, often it can be laughed at, which is, again, probably not going to be advised by all the child therapists that clearly subscribe to my YouTube channel. But, hey-ho. I think it's fact that when you face something hard and you endure a problem, you become better at dealing with that problem. So, more problems you face, the better you are at dealing with them. It has allowed me to share my story. Now, something I kind of feel I have a responsibility to do is to talk about these experiences, life experiences, any other experiences I have, I've talked a lot about my training experiences as a gymnast, obviously, on this channel. And I think being able to relate to somebody who has either lost a loved one or a close friend, or especially gymnasts and stuff, because obviously you see a lot of horrible, unfortunate things happening when you're working with large groups of children across the board. It allows you to resonate with them and to allow people to kind of almost feel like you get it a bit more, which is like anything. Like, there's always going to be someone who somebody prefers talking to, or there's always going to be someone who they find it easiest to speak to. But I feel like these experiences has allowed me to speak to people about them and share my story. And to be honest, it's not incredibly impressive, a lot of it. I feel incredibly grateful for the opportunities I've had, the experiences I've had, and being able to kind of navigate them and come out the other end and face new ones. And I think it's important I relay that to people who may be going through similar things, struggles, challenges. So just, if they might think, if he can do it, why can't I? And I think that's so important. We all have problems, issues, struggles, challenges, and when I go through a hard time, I do some of these things. Emotional, upset, whatever it may be. You can always feel like this, but I think what's super important is you always keep it moving. And it's easy to say that, and again, I do not have it all figured out at all. Wish I did, I do not. There's so many things, problems, struggles, challenges I face day to day, and sometimes, you know what, I need to take my own advice. If you feel like you're having one of these times, something I've found that really helps is talking to somebody. Now, I am the first person who will not talk to anybody about my problems, trust me. But you can always find somebody or something, like in this day and age, there's always, even if it's someone anonymous, you can speak to people when you're having a hard time, a challenge, a problem, and they can look at it objectively and say, well, actually, this probably isn't much of a problem. Or, well, actually, here's what to do, here's what I would do, here's my steps, do it. And that's why I've made this video, because if you've gone through something like this, you've lost a parent, you've lost a loved one, anyone you're grieving, or you have done in the past, I think it might help one person. It might help one person. And I think if I help one person watches it, which is about the average view count I get on this channel. But if if one person watches it and thinks, you know what, yeah, I was struggling with that, there's a few tips there, and the reframing of this kind of situation has allowed me to kind of see it like this. And it's going to be a reminder for me when I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a bad, week, month, hopefully not a year. I'm going to go back to this video, watch it, I'm going to go, look, I put this out to my incredibly large YouTube following, and I've got to walk the walk. I've got to remember what I said. I've got to remember that this is what makes you unique, this is what makes you special, this is what makes you you. Don't change. I'll put a number below for the Samaritans if you're feeling like you need a little bit of help, or if you ever do. Now, you can just take that number, you can save it, save the video, or just put it in your notes or something. So if you ever feel like that and you want somebody to speak to, they are there all the time. Don't face it alone. Losing someone you love is never easy, no matter what age. But I feel like when you're going through that process, or you've been through that process, it's super important to not just hide it away, like I did for a long period in my life, but kind of work with somebody or acknowledge how it affects you, how to deal with it, and how you can kind of put that into your life to go forwards being a better person, which is super important. We all make mistakes, we all do things we'd rather not have done, we'd change, but I think you can always take your experiences, learn from them, put them into being a better person, dealing with things better emotionally, physically, whatever that may be. I think it's super important, and it's definitely something that's on my list this year, to be a bit more open, expose more. I think I'm very withdrawn sometimes, and I feel like it's really common for people who go through these things to be very kind of closed up sometimes in certain senses. He says this, and then people are going to be like, how are you on talking to a camera? I think it's very different. A lot of what I do is so showy, out in the person. It's me, but like coaching, putting on a not a front. Well, it is a front, but it's not. I try to be me all the time, but there is obviously lots of things that you go through, you deal with, the struggles and the things you face, which obviously, I don't think you should be running around all the time complaining constantly, but that there's this balance of like doing that and then like never ever acknowledging your emotions or how you feel. I was definitely closer to this end, but now, bang, we're going to try to be slap bang in the middle, that perfect balance. We'll work on it. So guys, like I say, if you feel like you need that number, there's a number below, which is going to be a helpline for maybe anybody if you go through a hard time or struggle, or if you feel like you want to chat to somebody about something like this. And I get a couple of messages about this kind of thing now and again. If you ever feel like you want to chat about anything like this, drop me a message or drop me an email or something. And again, we might be able to put you in touch with someone who can help or advise a little bit better. But keep a smile on your face and you're doing great. Now, obviously, I'm not going to promote anything else on this video because it's not always about that, yeah? I'll just get you in the next one. But YouTube is going to recommend a video which is going to be there. And if you like this one, you should probably watch that one. Have a great one, guys.